Castle Attack comes to a conclusion on Sunday, and we cannot wait to call it live with English commentary here on njpwworld.com. Hi, everybody. I'm Kevin Kelly. I got Chris Charlton here with me. Let's preview all the big title matches that are coming up, and we'll answer a question that I have a feeling some people may not know the answer to. What's the dispensation of the Junior Heavyweight Championship, and will it indeed be defended at Castle Attack? We had all Bullet Club versus Chaos singles matches on night one, Chris, and now we come back with an earlier start time of 2 p.m. local at Osaka-Jo Hall, and this is where the rest of the championships will be defended. Let's run down the card, shall we? We'll start with our opener with Kojima and Tenzan versus Jeff Cobb and Will Ospreay.
What a war this should be. I mean, we saw through the new beginning tour, the road to the new beginning tour, how Tenkoji came back together and they were this furious force, and often in the end they came up short in their singles matches against Okada and Ospreay. But here we have that unit of the tag team, Tenkoji, the legendary 6-time champions, but they're going up against Will Ospreay and Jeff Cobb, and that's a formidable pair of opponents.
It certainly is. It's their first time as a tag team. And I've talked to several people who have said the team of Jeff Cobb and Will Ospreay on paper is unbeatable, if you think about it. And we'll see what happens. Then, of course, depending on what happens on night one, we've got a 6-man tag scheduled second with Toru Yano, Tomohiro Ishii, and Kazuchika Okada versus Chase Owens, Jay White, and Evil. Now, all 6 of those men will meet each other in singles matches the night before. Will we be talking about Chase Owens as the new KOPW 2021 provisional champion? Did Ishii defeat Jay White again? What's going to happen in the main event with Okada and Evil? We'll see how everything shakes out in this 6-man here on Sunday. Then we move to the tag team title match. Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga, the 7-time IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, versus Yoshihashi and Hiroki Goto. Can we say that Yoshihashi's improvement over 2020 to now has been absolutely remarkable?
He's been incredible, and it's all about that never say die, that heart of Yoshihashi that everybody loves him for, and he's finally been able to connect that to results and that pride of being never openweight 6-man champion. But he wants more gold, and him and Goto, I think they've got a good chance against GOD. You've got to be 7-time champions and all the rest of it. Yes, this is an extremely high pressure spot for them, but you've got to remember Yoshihashi and Goto did beat GOD during World Tag League. So yeah, I mean, the history is there. They could potentially get it done.
Yeah, and Yoshihashi got the winning pinfall over Tonga Loa when they squared off with Jay White as their partner for the never openweight 6-man tag team championships in Hiroshima, which led to the challenge for this tag team title match. Certainly Goto and Yoshihashi deserve to be there, and I have a feeling they have a better than average chance. We could see new champs crowned on Sunday. Then, of course, we will move to the next title match, which is the never openweight championship. Never say never, right? Tanahashi had never gone after the never title. He wins it in his first match against a man he had never faced in Shingo Takagi. Such is not the case here with an all too familiar foe, a rematch from Wrestle Kingdom against the Great O-Khan. First defense for Tanahashi. Will it be V0 for the ace?
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about that V0 curse with the never openweight championship and how competitive that is. But here you've got 2 very different visions of professional wrestling. You've got the old guard of Tanahashi, that very classical pro wrestler, versus Great O-Khan, a very sort of dominating spirit and a different style, a very MMA influenced style from Great O-Khan. And I'm sure they've both got very disparate views on where to take the never openweight championship that might be different to anything we've seen before. So do we see Tanahashi's vision for the never title continue going into 2021, or will Great O-Khan immediately smash through it and pave his own course?
Yeah, this is again about rewriting a narrative, whether Tanahashi wants to chart his own course or O-Khan, who knows which direction he would take it, but it's going to be very interesting to see how it comes out. The strategy and the gamesmanship, Tanahashi, a much smarter wrestler, all the years of experience, but the Great Okan is a physical force, wrestles like nobody else in New Japan. And Chris, do you agree with me? We might see a new champion crowned here in this one.
It's hard to bet against Great Okan, just from the sense of momentum, how he's really picked up. I mean, it was the United Empire getting those key first singles victories back at New Beginning, of course, over Tenzan and Kojima, and I think that really helped them move forward. And it's going to be hard to bet against Great Okan, but you can never count out the ace.
You cannot count out the ace. So the Junior Heavyweight Championship was in a state of flux, certainly with the unfortunate news about the injury of Hiromu Takahashi. And just so I have it all straight, Chris, it's a torn pectoralis major muscle, the big muscle in the chest, and it's going to require surgery, and he's going to be out 6 months. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Approximately 6 months. Obviously, Hiromu's an incredible athlete, and at this level, guys might recover a little bit quicker. But I mean, that's a severe thing. You can't really do anything without your pectoral muscle.
Yeah.
And he'll be away for a fair while.
How tough do you think it was for Hiromu to hand that title to Sugabayashi on the 25th at Korakuen?
Man, you heard his voice crack a little bit, and I know that there was so much for him. Obviously, he was very focused on El Phantasmo coming right up, but there was so much I know that he was thinking of, that he was planning for, going into the summer. We talk about Best of the Super Juniors coming up not too long away, and again, I'm sure in the back of his mind he was thinking, hey, well, if I beat Phantasmo, and then we've got Tetsuya Naito in that main event, and that cursed match, that was cancelled last year, and now this year again he can't make anniversary in the Budokan. I'm sure his heart was breaking.
So we had a situation where Hiromu hands the title over, but there is a scheduled title match. Then, of course, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship also required a change of card, with El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru stepping up physically, issuing a challenge to then champions Phantasmo Ishimori and taking those titles at Korakuen Hall. That's when the whole situation began. Now, Hiromu had floated the idea of Bushi replacing him versus Phantasmo, and that's when Desperado came in with a curveball. Why don't you explain it to everybody?
Yeah, well, I mean, Hiromu had nominated his partner Bushi. It kind of makes sense, standing my place. Phantasmo was a lock. He was the number one contender. Right. He'd already made his stance. He'd already made his challenge. Hiromu, you kind of think champion, fair enough. He gets to nominate his challenger.
I think that's when Diplomat Despy came in, and he sort of began to speak commonsensical. I can tell you this: Phantasmo went right downstairs as soon as Sugabayashi had the belt, and he said, "Great, hand it over. I'm the new champ." And Sugabayashi said, "Forget that. No, we'll decide what we're going to do. You're not going to be handed the title." So now Desperado floats the idea of it being a three-way, and it really seemed to work. So let's go back now and talk about the announcement that was made and what we're going to see on Sunday, Chris.
Yeah, so Desperado kind of said, hey, my history with Hiromu and everything else, I should be next in line. So either let's leave it up to the company. Either we do a three-way at Osaka-Jo Hall, or hey, maybe Bushi or Phantasmo, you want to have your little singles match, I'll take the winner at anniversary. And that sort of presented the IWGP Championship Committee with some decisions to make, and they went with the three-way. And I think this is going to be a really exciting match. We haven't seen a three-way for the junior heavyweight title since Madison Square Garden in 2019. So it's a very different style of match than perhaps most of these competitors are used to in the recent past. Certainly Bushi is. Phantasmo's got a little bit more experience, I would say, in a three-way, four-way, a multi-man environment than either of the other two. But this is going to be a really exciting bout. I think Bushi always steps up in these big match situations, stepped up in Osaka a couple of years ago for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship against Will Ospreay, had a fantastic match. Phantasmo has been waiting for this spot for a long time. It's been a long time coming, especially after he missed most of last year thanks to the pandemic. Desperado, I mean, the fight that we saw him bring at the Budokan last December, and how close he came to being the best of the Super Junior tournament winner. There's a lot of motivation. I think everybody's really gung-ho, but the big question is whether sudden death is going to pay off and be in this picture here. And I kind of think it is. Both of those guys have to be thinking of that foot of El Phantasmo and what's perhaps inside that boot.
Well, I appreciate what Hiromu said about Bushi, that he should, be able to pick his replacement, which is a nice sentiment. But Bushi finished in the middle of the pack at the best of the Super Junior, and Desperado was a dominant force, defeating Hiromu in the body of the tournament and coming so close to winning the thing. I think he definitely deserves to be there. The difference for me, though, is sudden death, because Phantasmo knocked Desperado loopy with that kick before Bushi flattened Phantasmo and got the final word at Korakuen Hall. I think we're more likely, less likely, more likely to see Phantasmo or Desperado. I think if Bushi won, it would be a complete shock. It would be a fluke victory. He would have to catch somebody with a quick one. But let's say it's Despi and LP. Who's your money on?
It's the right foot versus right hand, I think, in the end, isn't it? And that's a tough one to call. I think out of the two, heart says Despe, head says Phantasmo, but I'm not gonna completely discount Bushi. I think when you get in a big match scenario, when you get Bushi in that spot, and bear in mind he's so often in these tag team scenarios, in these multi-mans, and he's the glue guy, he's the tactician, and he's sitting in the corner watching from afar, and he knows everything that Desperado and El Phantasmo are going to pull off. Right. He's got that playbook and just an encyclopedic knowledge. And I wouldn't discount him in this situation where it pays to be a little bit more tactical and pick your spots in a three-way.
Think about the way Bushi went after the KOPW 2021 Provisional Championship at Wrestle Kingdom. He stayed on the outside with Fale and Chase and Yano. Now, eventually, the numbers and the size of Fale outweighed him. Yano was able to catch the quick one on Bushi, but I think Bushi can learn from that experience. And I would say if we're seeing a scenario where somebody gets hit with either sudden death or that lethal right hand, watch Bushi to pick up the bones and to steal that victory. We know one thing. We're going to crown a new champion. It'll either be El Phantasmo, El Desperado, or Bushi. Phantasmo should wear a mask, I think, just in honor of his original name. And of course, the original character had a mask on. I think he should don the mask just for old time's sake. How about our main event? The Intercontinental Championship, Kota Ibushi defending against Tetsuya Naito. Naito missing some time with a knee issue. Nagata rolling up on his knee caused a little bit of a tweak, but he's back. He seemed to be in fine form in the final 9 on the road to. Ibushi has had his knee worked on throughout the tour by Tetsuya Naito. It seems to be a strategical battle, I think, shaping up over the Intercontinental Championship. My first question to you, Chris, did Ibushi talk about unifying these titles so that somebody would step up and say, I want to wrestle you for the Intercontinental title because I don't want you to unify them, which is what we had.
That's interesting, isn't it? I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that before.
Anybody that's going to think out there, it's Ibushi. Naito said he never got the opportunity to defend the Intercontinental separately. He wanted to. And I think Ibushi found a way around it. But anyway.
Well, I think this is all like what we're putting out there versus reading under the lines and the subtext of this one, and it's such a confusing it's a very dense story that we'll be telling during that match, but Kota Ibushi wants to unify these titles, wants to fold in the lineage. We've talked about we've had top titles retired in New Japan Pro Wrestling. The IWGP Heavyweight Championship has not been around since 1972. It came into force as a regular title in 1987. Before that, we had the NWF Championship. We had the WWF International Heavyweight Championship. We've had the Greatest 18 title. We've had the NWA title was defended in in New Japan Pro Wrestling. The NWF was resurrected. So we've had these championships that were retired, that were dissolved, that just don't exist. Kota Ibushi is saying, no, let's unify them. Let's bring them together. Let's make something greater. He's been talking about, let's go back to what IWGP really represents of bringing New Japan Pro Wrestling to the world. Does that mean we have a quote unquote IWGP World Heavyweight Championship? I don't know. Now, Kevin, you brought up this point of, does he have an ulterior motive there of let's have someone come up and try and split those titles? Then on the other hand, you've got Tetsuya Naito. Now Naito's saying, I'm connected to this championship.
Yes.
I don't really like it. I don't understand it. I'd rather it wasn't here. If his standpoint is this idea of secondary, quote unquote, secondary championships. It shouldn't exist, right? You're in this business to be the top guy. The Never Openweight Championship, that champion believes he's the top in that distinction. The junior heavyweight, the same. The US Heavyweight Championship, John Moxley, the same. Right? If you're in this business, you should be at the top. So this idea of the Intercontinentals, give someone a chance on the that shouldn't exist. So let me win the title. Nobody, if you want for a championship, you want the heavyweight championship. No one will defend this for 6 months, and then I'll get to end this. That's his point. He wants to be not and new, he wants to be and last.
Gotcha.
And that cements his legacy. He was the first ever double champion. He was the last ever Intercontinental champion. You're not ever going to take that away from Tetsuya Naito. That's what he's saying. But the subtext there.
Right.
I think he wants to win that championship, and I think he wants challenges to be lined up out the door. I think he wants all of those people to come at him and to defend it and to defend it and to defend it and take that white belt that's so linked to Shinsuke Nakamura, to strike his name off the list, to be Tetsuya Naito was the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. So he might say he wants to be the last. I think he wants to be and only Intercontinental Champion Tetsuya Naito.
And I think Ibushi's motivation is selfish to a certain extent. Nothing wrong with it. I think he wants to show the world that he can successfully defend each title separately, and went there by talking about melding them together. I really think at some point, even if he only defends it once, he can at least say, I defended each title. I defended the Intercontinental title separately from the double championship, and I've proven my point. We'll see what happens. It's a toss-up with these two. I think this will be a little calmer than we've seen some of these matches before. I still have nightmares about Naito and Ibushi.
It's been very interesting to watch. I almost said strange. It's been interesting to watch them on this tour. Obviously, Naito took the week off with the tweaked knee. But they've been more scientific than I've ever seen the two of them in the ring. And they've really been trying to out-wrestle one another, and I think Ibushi's been working on his ground game. I think that word got into Tetsuya Naito, and Naito, he might not be outward about it, but I think he's very proud of that Hamaguchi gym training and all of that amateur work that he's done over the years. And they're always trying to one up one another. And now they've kind of said, well, let's one up one another in this environment on the mat. I think we're going to be very centered within those four ropes. I'm not even sure whether we'll see any trips to the outside or, anything like that. I wouldn't be too surprised if it's all dead center in that ring tonight.
Yeah, I think that's where we're headed. We're going to see a great wrestling match for the Intercontinental Championship. Tetsuya Naito, Kota Ibushi, may the best man win. Now, Gino will be with us as we call this entire event, and we'll wrap up Castle Attack. So we're looking forward to that. It is always so nice to have all of you folks with us. The final event of a very busy month of February, and then we'll turn the page and immediately head to the Nippon Budokan on March the 4th for the 49th anniversary of New Japan Pro Wrestling. But we've got Castle Attack right in our sights. Will new champions be crowned? What will happen? Who will get the final word? Will it be Ibushi? Will it be Naito? Let's find out all together right here on njpwworld.com. For Chris Charlton, I'm Kevin Kelly. We'll see you in just a little while.